Let's get started. It's welcome to the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority Board of Directors meeting. It's Monday, December 11th at 4 o'clock, and we're in the Carson City Community Center Bob Kroll boardroom. Can I get a roll call, Linda?
Mike Jones.
Here.
Bobby Rader. Stacy Giomi.
Here.
Kitty McKay. We have a quorum.
I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll move on to item 4, public comment. Any member of the public wish to comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, approval of the minutes from September 11th meeting. Any member of the board have any changes, corrections, or additions to the minutes? If not, can I get a motion to
Chair,
approve?
Chair, if I could interrupt, just it was for the November 13th, not
Oh,
September.
November.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry, just to clarify.
Sorry, reading the wrong. So correction, November 13th meeting.
The motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on now to the consent agenda. Would any member of the public like any individual item? We're outside of the public comment area. Todd?
Did you already call for public comment? And nobody asked?
So we'll have another public comment portion at the end of the meeting.
Not during the meeting, Denny, but I can step aside and we can chat for a little bit.
Okay, again, consent agenda, would any member of the board would like anything individual item pulled for individual discussion? Any member of the public?
Yeah, him. I mean, you just asked, so
Yeah.
now you kind
No.
of have to let him do it. Hey, Todd? He just asked for any member of the public to comment.
I'm
on this
sorry.
agenda item, so
Yeah.
he could comment now, right? Yeah. Danny, do you want to comment?
If it's about the consent agenda.
It was about a different issue. I'm going to take care of it for Denny.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Then if I can get a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as it is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Move on to item 9, discussion of presentation and discussion regarding Carson City economic impact of tourism for 2022. David?
Thank you, Chair Jones. For the record, David Peterson, Executive Director with Visit Carson City. I know it's a little late in the year to be talking about 2022's economic impact, but due to some circumstances around contracting with Travel Nevada, the information only recently became available. But I do want to just hit some of the highlights on what the numbers look like for last calendar year. So as a recap, this data comes by way of Travel Nevada. They work with tourism economics, and primarily it's on an in-plan model, which is a sort of universally accepted model that a lot of different states do use to calculate visitor spending and economic impact calculations. So it's a little bit of background on the methodology. Let me see if I can get this thing to maybe go to the second page. We'll see. Maybe not. Hang on. Bear with me. What am I doing wrong, Chris? Just maybe come like that. I'll just have to shift it. Okay. All right, so 2022 numbers. Highlights, we hit $235.8 million in direct visitor spending, which was up 12% over 2021. And these are calendar year numbers, so similar to last month with the visitor profile, these two sets of data are always on a calendar year basis. Just hitting some highlights, you can see gaming did drop a little bit relative to the prior year, but recreation, I'm very pleased to see that number up 21.3%. Recreation in terms of the category is inclusive of outdoor recreation as well as the creative economy. So it's kind of a merge of both of those. So it's arts, culture, history, heritage. That's also included in the recreation category along with all outdoor recreation. Small increase, 0.6% on retail, and then food and beverage was up 17.5%, and happy to see that lodging was up about 13%. Scrolling down to the next page, I'm just going to hit a couple of highlights here as well. So business sales, a little over $384 million. S&L, that's state and local taxes, $33.2 million. So where are we at here? Just taking a look at, again, on that total side. So if you think of the direct visitor spending, that's sort of your primary, and then you have secondary, which is your indirect, sort of induced. That's how you get to the total of the 384. Labor income, again, 88.4 million on the direct side, 149.5 on total spending. And then combined taxes you see there, we're pushing about 70 million, including the federal side. And employment, direct employment, 2.4 thousand people in Carson City, total 3.8, so about 6% share of the total employed in Carson City. And this just sort of sums some of those numbers up. And what I thought was interesting is to look at the pre-pandemic and where we're at. So 2022 as compared to 2019 for visitor spending, we're up about 14.2%. On the total business sales, 8.7%. Employment hasn't come back to pre-pandemic levels in Carson City. You can see we're still down 5.6% compared to 2019. But total labor income, 6.1% increase, and then state and local taxes are up 22.6% as compared to 2019. So that's sort of the last full calendar year that we're still comparing to pre-pandemic. But I think all in all looks pretty good for Carson City, and I think we're going to see some increases in 23 as well. So hopefully I'll be able to present the data, I'm hoping in September or October next year. But I think we're look pretty good last calendar year, and I think we're going to do even better for calendar 23. Are there any questions on this particular item? Okay. With that, Chair, if I may, I'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 10.
Yeah, I don't see any questions from the board.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, we'll move on to 10A, Executive Director update. I just have one quick thing for this month. The application period for the open hotel motel spot on the board, it did close on the 1st of December, and I am told interviews are scheduled for the Board of Supervisors meeting on the 21st of this month. Or 22nd, sorry, 22nd. Okay, so 22nd. And that's my quick update this month. 10B, transient occupancy tax. actual versus forecast. That's the big sheet in your packet. We're still got a projection in there for October. It looks like we're going to come in about 1.43% behind our budget and about 3.4% behind last October, 2022. So we had a couple of good months there with August and September, but a little dip in October. And I'm not changing any of the numbers November through June at this point. I'm just going to leave everything the way it is until we see how things go as we get into the winter. But we're still projecting 28.4 rounded million, which would be about a 1.55% increase over the budget that we set in May, but we're down almost 2 percentage points as compared to prior fiscal year. But I still think that's legitimate given what we don't know as far as the economy next year. So are there any questions on this projection? Okay. Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to 10C, Arts and Culture Update. Mr. Brooks, if you would be so kind as to take it away, and I will. There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're very excited about the December Arts and Culture. I'll be moving along. If you have a question, please stop me, or we can have questions at the end as well. So the front panel there was part of the Music and Murals Festival. We had an after party with a band out of Reno going by Greg Golden and the Fever Dreams. They played at the bank. And then we had a special presentation from the mayor to one of the artists, Edwin Esco Martinez, at the Chamber of Commerce, and that happened on Saturday of the event. Then we have our presentation outline. We're going to talk about the Murals and Music Festival, the 3D Destination Update, and the Roundabout Sculpture Sense of Place. The image there is the Brazilian artist who was able to come and do a preliminary mural for the festival, Mari Perinelli, and she is currently at Art Basel painting. So we were very happy to have her piece there at the Children's Museum. The next image we have is Eric Burke, who is a longtime resident of Reno. He has just moved, he himself and his family, to a small town north of Barcelona in Spain and is having a good time there. This is a mural of his daughter. It's called Worn Out Cowgirl, and that's on the gas station there at Williams in North Carson. So murals and music, we had a lot of fun, and there's just some highlights visually for you. We were able to have 3 international artists, Mari that we just talked about, Prism AG, who has done 3 different festivals in Northern Nevada now, and she's a great, she's come a long way in her paintings as well. She has family in Reno, so she now plans her trips to home when we have something for her to paint. She painted the butterfly wings and the young woman. And that's a photo op too, so you can stand in the butterfly wings and get your picture taken. And Lyra, we've nicknamed her Lele, and it's technically pronounced Leda Urbelts, who was here doing some work on her PhD studies on the Bass Studies. She was able to tour around Northern Nevada. She is currently back in Pamplona. Good news, though, she was able to obtain a grant and will be moving to Reno full-time to finish her doctorate on Bass Studies. So she's going to be part of the community. And she painted this inside mural that has to do with lots of different things. And the way this is pieced together, it is for 5 separate walls around the lobby there. You've got a characterization of Tessie from Lake Tahoe, which if you are on the very far right, you can see a woman's face, and then it stretches all the way around on 3 different walls. While she was in Boise and Elko, she interviewed old Bascos to get their stories. So the imagery from the rest of these are stories that were told to her. One was a Native American who taught a newly set out into the forest, into the trees, Basco how to fish. And so that's a characterization of that story, and some other ones there we don't need to go into. But very excited to have her back in our community and some big things that she'll be able to do there. She also painted a giant mural. It's like 150 feet long, 16 feet high at Barbara Bennett Park, which is on Arlington Street near the river, if you're familiar with that. And she already has 3 commissions waiting for her when she comes back. So we were very fortunate to have her. And then we have Lauren Huft and Cian Simone, who did the moth and flowers there on the north side of the Children's Museum. And then the big panel wall on the Relaxa building, we have the first two panels there. The one on the far right with the hands is Nathaniel Kuhn, who's one of the artists, resident artists of the Generator. This was his first mural. He'd never painted anything bigger than 8x4, and he's only painted 2 8x4s. So we were really excited to give him an opportunity, and we think he nailed it. And then to the left of that is Hannah Eddy. She's been traveling since the festival. She's done big festivals in Colorado, Maine, and Miami. And she's back on the road right now. So we're lucky to have her in our community as well. And the last imagery of murals, Josie Rock did a great piece to kind of tell the story of what Brewery Arts Center is doing there next to the original brick building. And then the before and after, Dave Young Kim, who is Korean descent. If you're curious about what all these symbols are, this is a nice little picture of what the muraling community has become. This is actually old gang writing from his earlier days. And so he puts that up and then he paints this beautiful image over it. And it's really common for muralists to do some sort of painting. 2 panels over, Nathaniel Benjamin, who's got his degree in printmaking, he had a long poem about a dog, and then he painted over it with a glass full of smiley faces. Mari Perinelli also wrote a poem before she painted hers. And then it's an incredible piece. It's a blessing. So you've got, normally it wouldn't have the egrets in it, but he wanted to put the egrets in because they're found around in our area. In the very center on the bottom, that's a cave. And so you're able to enter into this calm moment, and if you're to stand there and look at it, it's supposed to bring warmth and comfort to you. So, and music-wise and event-wise, we had Ian Moore headline at Brewery Arts Center, which was a super fun show, and we did a workshop on Saturday with Org's Home Pottery there in Carson Mall, and they had almost 200 people participate, and that was free to the public. So, very nice to have some good partnerships with them. So by the numbers, we had a budget of $63,000, which is very small in case you didn't know about mural budgets. We were very generous with a $10,000 sponsorship. It's the largest sponsorship of anyone in the festival. The value of the murals come in at around $124,000, and that would be based on if they were going to be done in one-off, one by one. Having these festivals, artists get more creative freedom, and they're able to come and do these events for a lot less than they would normally pay. Of that 63, 33,400 went directly into artists' hands, and there was still $7,000 left for BAC's artist programming moving forward. We had 26 partners and collaborators. We completed 22 murals. We had 16 local artists, 9 female artists, and 11 multicultural artists. And we're very proud that we were able to really lean into the diversity aspect for the art. And we have such amazing artists, not just in the narrow region, but also in the region 100 miles around or so. 3D destination update. I didn't take this photo. This was actually something I found online. But I think it's a good image of what we're trying to do, and that's really have this whole area come under one. It's going to be quite an interesting project. I'm still wrapping my head around it. I'm very excited to work with such a great team. The representatives from Virginia City and Carson Valley are all fantastic. And even though I've lived in the region for 10 years, I had no idea what was going on in Carson Valley. So I'm really excited to be able to see how we can really start collaborating and partnering with one another. So November 6th, which was my first day of work, by the way, we had the afternoon tour of Virginia City, which included St. Mary's Art Center, Fourth Ward School Museum, Gallery of the West, and the Houston Boot Company. If you haven't been up there to see those few things, super fun. Jake Houston, who makes the boots, is very engaging, and it's just fantastic to have such a high-end retail store like that. We were accompanied by Erica Perry from St. Mary's and Todd Tuttle. They're both very involved in the tourism scene up there as well. November 7th, we had an early morning tour of Carson Valley, Genoa, and Gardnerville, and Minden with Brian Fitzgerald and Jan Vandermeid. So eye-opening, and the visitors just were absolutely blown away. In the afternoon tour, we had Carson City. So we went to Stewart Indian School. Bobby Rader was able to give an absolutely fantastic tour, and that was my first time there, and I was blown away. Really exciting how you can tell that story in such a positive light. Then we went to the Brewery Arts Center with Spike McGuire. We drove the Kit Carson Trail and some of the murals. And then Bobby, Spike, and myself were able to take care of them that afternoon. Then we went straight into a steering committee meeting at the Nevada State Museum. That evening, we had 121 RSVPs for the first community forum. Kathy Ritter, Mitch Nichols, and Carl Robato were there to explain the premise of what this program is going to be like to the public, and had a good discussion with people during and after that. The discussion of partnership and collaboration between VCCC and CV to connect the arts, history, and heritage destinations through branding and marketing. And we have another steering committee meeting coming up, and a couple more community forums. The second one will be spring of 2024. Moving on, this is exciting. Karen Yank, Sense of Place. So we have a couple mock-ups of the piece she's going to do. And of the artists that were selected for the final three, I think she really delved into the meaning behind the piece more than anyone else did. And I think she was a fantastic choice. So we'll be excited to see when that's what the Board of Supervisors thinks of her presentation. So the piece in general echoes the unique intersection of history, government, art, and culture found here in Carson. The circle reflects the horizon where the earth meets the sky, the cycles of life and seasons, and the Carson City silver dollar. And you can see that with the scalloped edges on the inside there. We've got the Capitol Dome as historical identity. The eagle represents the spirit of people, past and present, and freedom for the entire community. And we have the big eagle on the north end coming into town as well. So it's a nice bookmark, or bookends. And then at the very base there, we have the Sierra Nevada mountain range. The center holds the Great Basin bristlecone pine to represent Carson's history and a symbol of a bright future. And although it's very Carson specific, the bristlecone pine is more of a Nevada element, so it's nice that she was able to incorporate that. Then we have a little bit of a different view and a lot more details. Seen in the inset are markings reminiscent of sound waves and rhythmic beats representing the communications of early reptiles and mammals that once inhabited this region. And I love when an artist gets into the weeds like that and brings out something that's not just beautiful, but has a tie-in. Another important element, and this we can't see this in the images that are here, on the opposite side are detailed insets of the outer band of the circle. The pattern is found on the Washoe tribe's seal and will include their important history in this area. And she will be working with tribal elders and make sure that that story is told in a way that best represents and shows respect for that. Sense of Place will stand 20 feet tall and 25 feet above the roadway. So it is definitely going to be marking a place. Created out of durable corten and stainless steel, there'll be no maintenance. That's going to naturally patina as it sits. It's designed to discourage interaction with the public because of its clean, simple lines that can be seen well from a distance. The estimated budget is $190,000, and Visit Carson City has dedicated $75,000 towards the fabrication, installation, and artist fees. And the timeline for installation will be June 2025. Thank you. Any questions about those projects?
Board Member Giomi?
Yeah, I will comment on the roundabout art. I think she did an amazing job to capture everything. I didn't see any of the others, so I don't. I have a sense of how the rest of them played out, but the fact that she incorporated so many things that are germane to this, to basically Carson City, I think is incredible. The only real objection I have is a bristlecone pine, which really has nothing to do with Carson City. I mean, it has a lot to do with the region and the state of Nevada, but not Carson City. Our official tree is the Jeffrey pine. It's in our ordinance, and I think you can make the argument that the cottonwood is probably more representative. Seriously, of this region. In fact, there's a Fremont. The Fremont cottonwood was named for John C. Fremont. And that is our centennial tree at Washington Street. So anyway, we'll see if, I mean, that's one man's opinion. we'll see how the receptive the artist might be to, you know, I love everything else about it. I love the dedication to the Washoe tribe. I think that's important. It's such a, you know, historic presence in this region that I'm really glad that that wasn't ignored. Love the eagle for Eagle Valley. Love the mountains. Love the coin representation. The scalloped edges clearly represent. I mean, she was very, very creative, very creative. So I'm excited for it.
In the full presentation, she describes why she chose the bristlecone pine a little bit more, and in personal conversations with her while she was visiting, and looking at her past work compared to this, I think she's going to be fantastic to work with possible suggestions.
Good, great, thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I will comment that I believe that presentation is scheduled unless something changes with her schedule for the December 22nd meeting also. So we'll know when that agenda comes out next Tuesday, but I believe that's the plan. Excuse me, this Thursday, the agenda should be out. Thank you.
Just to clarify, that's the December 21st meeting, I believe, for Board of Supervisors.
Isn't it the 22nd on Thursday?
The 22nd is a Friday, according to my calendar.
Well, then I stand in error earlier. I said
That's all right. I thought
Yeah.
I was wrong. So sorry. Okay.
21st is the meeting.
Okay.
Which is
Thank you.
21st is the meeting.
No, I always appreciate getting pointed out when I'm wrong. Thank you, Todd.
Oh, is that on the record? That's great.
I also wanted to make sure that board member Giomi would be present at the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Eric? I just want to thank Eric because he has jumped in on the 3D Cultural Corridor project. So I'm slowly trying to remove myself from that and let him take the lead because we are the lead applicant on the project itself with Travel Nevada. So, and as a reminder, yes, it's 3 communities, but we have an opportunity to go after. I don't know if it's $1 million or it's $2 million in funding through Travel Nevada, Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, Travel Nevada, and it's EDA money that's in there. But I'm looking forward to next spring. So hopefully, if all goes well, we'll have what should be a 10-year plan that we hope then we can scale that up accordingly to maybe include the Nevada side of the lake, Tahoe, Reno, perhaps. You know, we may be able to look a little further east as well on this from a scalability perspective. But right now we have Virginia City, Silver City, Carson City, and then Carson Valley down here, nothing up at the lake. So pretty cool. And I thank Eric for jumping in with both feet because, yeah, his first day, hey, you get to give the tour of Carson City. But he said, awesome, looking forward to it. So awesome. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on. Thank you, Eric. We'll move on to 10D, Events and Sales Update. Mr. Wexler, take it away.
For the record, Stu Wexler, Visit Carson City. Just going to go over some of the events that will be coming up for the 2024 season. So,
Forgive me, Stu. Hang on just 1 second.
Okay.
The laptop is locked up. It's ceased to work. So if you can follow along temporarily with the PowerPoint that we printed out in your packet, I will get this figured out.
So coming up in February, we are going to have the Wild West Futsal Tournament at the Mac Center. It's going to be around February 2nd to the 4th. We actually there are going to be new people involved, new board members that are going to be involved with this going forward. So we expect to see an expansion on the tournament from what it's been and able to track it a little bit more in detail from what we've been able to do in the past. So they are expecting about 25 to 30 out of the area teams to participate in the tournament. The indoor soccer is becoming very popular, especially for us this time of year. when the fields are obviously inaccessible, going forward. So, yeah, it's competitive, pre-competitive and competitive programs for boys and girls, ranging probably the ages of 7 to 18. So they have had a lot of participation, but we expect to see more going forward. And then for 2024 in January, we have the American Bus Association. This is going to be in Nashville. And this is bringing motor coach operators and tours to Carson City and the surrounding area. Usually, we do have other areas participating to make it a little bit bigger tour. So at this point, I have 60 requested appointments. I don't know what happens yet. It hasn't been shown yet as to how many are accepted. A lot of times during these shows, you can have certain appointments that you get requested, but you have people coming up to you at the same time when you have some free time asking to talk to you. So that is going in January, and it's usually pretty big. We're trying to get more motor coach out to our area. A lot of them, motor coach, you'll see at the East Coast to the Midwest. So we're trying to expand that, and they're trying to expand to bring more out to the Western area as well. And then some of the new events I've been working on. One is, it's called the Sagebrush Model A Ford Club. We're seeing a lot of interest, as you probably know, in car shows in our area. So this is Northern California organization that has some participation in parts of Nevada. These are all Model A Ford classic cars that we're working on to have at Fuji Park. And this will be over the Memorial Weekend. Oh, you got it up. Okay. And, well, that's the Sagebrush. And so this will be the first time in Carson City. So they just, their car shows, they have banquets, car judging, seminars, and rides as well. So, and you can see this is all Model A Ford Classics that have been rebuilt. And I think that'll be very popular in our area. It's been very popular in the Northern California area. And just kind of waiting for the Parks and Recs to get the approval. But they have talked to our Napa store here on Highway 50 to be a sponsor for this show. And let's see. Then the next one is the 775 off-road recovery. This is going to be at Mills Park. They're looking at about 300 participants. These are all seminars on off-road recovery, what they do for safety, workshops for explorer adventure groups. They do a lot of safety training, reviews during and after recoveries. When people are off-roading, sometimes they might have accidents. These people are trained to show what to do in case that happens, medical as well as that. They show the skills to provide recovery vehicles that may seem to be unrecoverable. And what's nice about this group, they also support cleaning up our trails too. So it's not just they come here, they have a show, they teach people, to be responsible and do the cleaning up as well for our trails. And obviously for the OHV, they teach people how to do emergency repairs. And it's become a very big show, and they have it down in the Vegas area, and now it's coming up to our Carson City area.
Stu, where will they be doing the educational seminars? Obviously not in Mills Park.
They do it, they'll be setting up different areas at Mills Park.
Okay.
They have little tents and kiosks, and they might take people out on the trails, depending on what kind of weather we're having, and they would do the actual training at the time they're taking them on the trails. So a lot of that depends on what our weather's going to be like.
And when is that?
This is in May, early May, that they're going to have that. And then the next show we're having is the Go West Summit at Lake Tahoe. We've had it in Reno 21, 22, early 22, and the last one
Yes.
was in Anchorage. So, yeah, this is a marketplace that brings together suppliers. It's all part of the western states. It's a lot of international tourism. Obviously, I show the interest in the fascination of Carson City. What's interesting about this, these are the shows that you have 7 minutes to speak. So it's table to table. And you weren't here, Kitty, but like last year, we call it almost like speed dating. You have 7 minutes to sell Carson City or wherever you happen to be. So one of the first things that we do, and I was told when I first started, is one of our biggest sales is our approximation, our location. We are so close to everything, and that's one of the big interests that people come, especially from international overseas. They like the fact that we're close to the gateway cities, San Francisco, Sacramento, driving time, flying time, and that's a real interest to a lot of the international tourism folks that come over. It's a lot of face-to-face networking, and that post-COVID, that's become very popular again, and there's a lot more attendance on these shows now going forward. And it just provides a venue to meet with suppliers from the American West to generate tourism. And it's in the western states, nothing on the East Coast. This is all about the West. And my appointments don't open till January 25th. But this is going to be at Tahoe at the new Blue Event Center. So we look forward to that. I think it's going to be very exciting. When I was in Anchorage last year, and they announced it was going to be in Tahoe, everyone was coming up to me, very, very excited. And they're saying, hey, we're going to come to Carson City. What are you going to do? So there are planned adventures for Carson City, which is our next slide. And that is, we're going to have a Go West Adventure Day. We are going to, this is after all the show, all the appointments, after the closing ceremonies. And we're going to have a shared tour with Carson Valley. So on this time, we thought between the two of us, we could get, it would be a better tour going down to the Carson Valley than coming up to our area, Carson City. So it'd probably be around 25 to 30 participants for the Adventure Day. We don't have, registration is still open, so we don't know what that's going to be at this point. So what they're going to do is they come up from the Carson Valley. The first stop is going to be a tour of Stewart Indian School with Bobby. We're going to show them the museum. Ben Rupert's having a couple dances there, and he kindly invited us to the second dance. So we're going to take all the folks to that, and then we're going to go to the Nevada State Museum. Obviously, the coin press and a lot of the other exhibits will be included. And then we're going to have a tour of the historic West Side District, the Kit Carson Trail, as you can see. We're going to have Mary Bennett as our step-on operator. She, as you know, is fantastic and dresses for the part and loves to explain the history of Carson City. And then there are a few other events I'm working on as we get later into the year. Some at the MAC Center, but those are still in the works. So I'll let you know when those are confirmed. So any questions?
Questions for Stu? No? David? Can we move?
All right, thank you. Yeah, we got some exciting stuff coming up. And it's quite remarkable to see Go West come back to this region after having just been in Reno a couple of years ago. So I think that speaks volumes to this entire area here, that they would decide to come back a couple of years later. So super pumped about that. With that, let's move on to 10E, marketing and PR update, which I am going to be doing if this works. Yes, okay. Here's a little bit on the outline side of things: web, paid digital media, newsletters, and public relations, and we're going to be covering November. So with that, we'll get into some highlights on the digital side and web side. So our decline, I won't read the numbers, but I'm just going to kind of hit some of the highlights and what's going on for November. So we did see a decline in website visits site-wide, sort of natural. We're coming into the shoulder season in terms of actual visitation to Carson City. We saw that across every channel that we're in. Search volume trip planning was also down from November, and same trend that happened last year as well. On the paid social side of things, we do have a decline in website visits, and that's primarily due to the events carousel campaign and a fall in our Carson City newsletter signups ad that we had running. And we did have fewer events to promote heading into November and December as well. In terms of the newsletter signups, we did see a drop, about 50% decline in November. We're starting to fatigue that a little bit. We're seeing a drop in the performance as well. And we are working on 2 new winter ads to better fit the season in hopes of seeing an increase in the performance again. On the Google ads, we're still seeing the effects of the strategy change. So if you all recall, we did do a change on the lodging referrals that are being generated by paid search. They're down not only due to kind of seasonality and then it declines in searches, but from our major shift in strategy. So if you recall, we were kind of targeting everyone, including Carson City residents, whereas now we're just focusing on visitors to Carson City. So I expect this to probably play out while we rotate through the next several months with that major change in strategy. So we are still testing landing pages and bidding strategies, again, to try to sort of maximize the performance on the Google Ads side of things. Any questions on this slide? Okay. I do want to talk a little bit about Datafy. So I know we've chatted in the past. We did come online. This is an analytics platform. I'm very pleased that we did move in this direction. Again, you guys know I'm data, driven, right? So to be able to bring this analytics platform, which pulls geolocation data from mobile devices, folks that are coming into and out of Carson City, we get to see their movement, origin, where they're coming from, as well as what they are doing when they're in Carson City. Where are they going? Where are they visiting? And so one of the really cool things is for the winter digital campaign, we are leveraging their media platform. So there's an analytics platform that's Datafy, similar to Placer AI or a Zartico or an Arrivalist, but they also have a media platform. And we've tapped into that, shifted some of the spend that we had allocated on the digital side to be able to truly test out the platform, the media platform that is within Datafy. So far, we are surpassing Datafy's benchmarks for all of our KPIs. We anticipate that will level out a little bit as we continue to gather more data. And we just started this, right, I think within the past month, literally. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this does play out. And the beauty of it is it's real-time information, so we can make on-the-fly adjustments and changes to that campaign. We don't have any attribution going on or visitor data to share now, but we will at next month's meeting. And I'll actually probably have Ryan from KPS3 join us at that meeting as we kind of dig into the data, because I think it's going to be really neat to see how we're leveraging that platform. So on the whitelisting of Shelby Says, she's one of our influencers, and she did the fall getaway on TikTok. That's off to a great start, and we're already generating some great on-platform engagements on that end of things. And then the whitelisting, just as a reminder, it's a process where a creator or an influencer gives us permission to use their content as an ad. So it's not us telling us how great Carson City is and you should come visit. It's someone else telling folks how great Carson City is. All right, let's shift to newsletters really quick. We're seeing some good movement here on people signing up to receive the monthly newsletter. November newsletter was sent out to 8,902 recipients. It was up from 8,864 for the October newsletter, so a little bit of an increase. That November newsletter is trending above our usual performance with subscriber open rates. We're just over 3,409 people. And then of those, 630 clicks of folks coming through to visit carsoncity.com. So very pleased to see we've still got some good engagement there. I won't bore you with the individual statistics on the links, but that's just where people are clicking through on the newsletter to get through to our website. On a public relations, it was a good month for public relations. So as you can see, that's part of a team of KPS3, Nicole from our team, and then also Chrissy, who actually handles some of the Reno Tahoe territory stuff, because they're the vendor of record for Reno Tahoe territory. So they were all in New York City participating in a Travel Nevada media mission. And they met with a bunch of different folks. I think the critical ones for us, and this was actually outside of the mission itself, was some desk side meetings, and they met with Real Simple, and I should say Nicole did, and that was specifically pitching Visit Carson City. So we had Spirit of Nevada, and then it's a YouTube and a broadcast series. They've filmed a 2-part series, as it says, at the Nevada State Prison. So that should be, well, it did come out in November. And then Pride Journeys, online LGBTQ travel publication, that came out as well. And then we did get some announcement information on Eric, which was great. So that was picked up. We had some Nevada Business Magazine and Northern Nevada Business Weekly. I think that was me, actually, on that end of things. So, quick PR update. Happy to answer any questions on the marketing PR side. We'll have a lot more coming in January to talk about in terms of the Cap to Tahoe activation. I should just mention that. And then, like I said, I would love to be able to present some actual data on the attribution modeling side of things through the Datafy media platform. So I think it'll be really enlightening to see how things are working on that end of things. And then I should mention, only because we will be meeting after our new airport ads start at the Reno Tahoe Airport. So I'll show those at the January meeting as well, because I just received those. So after posting, but very excited to say that we'll have the ads up and running in the baggage carousels, and we'll also be upstairs on the second floor. So are there any questions on the marketing and PR end of things? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to 10F, future agenda items. Any requests from the board for items at next month's meeting? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to 10G. Our next meeting will be right here, January 8th, 2024, 4 p.m. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Move on to item 11, comments or announcements and requests for information from hearing nothing, we'll move on to item 12. We'll entertain public comment at this time. All right. Hi.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for everything you're doing. Exciting programs, fun to listen to. I had a few comments about.
Could you please state your
Robin
name?
Orloff, sorry,
There,
Carson
thank you.
City, Robin Orloff, Carson City. I'm glad to hear you're having the 775 off-road recovery folks. That's an awesome group. They rescue people all over Nevada. They pulled out a vehicle for the Forest Service just recently, rescued an 82-year-old woman out in the middle of nowhere. Really good group. So I'm pleased that they're there. I would just ask you, and I'll speak up at other meetings as well, that if they are going on Prison Hill, that I would really like to see some very close supervision of where they go to protect the hill. I just got off the hill. I love it. I'm very protective of it. And we had a few issues with the Bronco and the trials event where activities were going on outside of the boundaries, and there were some damages to the area. So if we are going to observe the Prison Hill master plan. Hopefully we'll have staff there and make sure we know what people are doing, and then before they leave, check to make sure there isn't any damage. That's part of the plan. The other thing I wanted to comment on, but I believe you've already voted on the artwork, the roundabout. And I've got to say, I like the roundabout the way it is. It's beautiful. It celebrates our natural ecosystem, which is the Great Basin. And I think the artist did, I like the symbolism that she's done. I agree with everything that you all say. I'm concerned about the bristlecone because it's more of a Nevada tree than our own Carson City tree. Also, when you drive north towards the roundabout, my husband pointed this out to me, and I didn't think he was so observant, but he said you can see the cupola and the Capitol as you're driving north. You look straight ahead, and the silver cupola, I think that's what you call it, is very evident as you're approaching. And I went, wow, you saw that? And I'm hoping that the artwork won't obscure it. I think it's a nice symbol to be able to see. And I know the symbol is on the artwork as well. And what Carson City has done on South 395 is awesome. I mean, the pampas grass and the ecosystem, and it's all very Great Basin. The Forest Service building and their sign is very Great Basin, and Prison Hill on one side and the Carson Range on the other. That's kind of what I look at to see, well, this is Carson City, and the wetlands on both sides right by the roundabout. So I'm just kind of hoping that maybe, I don't know if that will be discussed as a maybe alternative to the bristlecone. It's a little bit more Carson City. So I thank you for your time and for everything you do. And you have quite a lineup of our activities. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment?
Denny French, Carson City. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for all you do and all that's happening. I haven't been involved in many of the programs, and I hope to be more this year. The next thing is, I wanted to explain this earlier issue. I just couldn't find it in agenda. I thought that was the added material. And then the other piece I did pick up. Thank you very much for your patience during that, and thank you, Todd. And Linda, thank you. I'd like to say that it's ditto to the roundabout art matter as far as both. Miss, I know her better by Robin and Giomi, Orloff. I get it there. So ditto on that. And as Giomi and I had our first real talk about Carson was when the NV Electric was sort of making a boo-boo on Lone Mountain Hill, and that got straightened out. But through that, I got to meet a lot of the tribe leaders because I looked to them to find some reasons to keep them off that hill and couldn't fit the 5 requirements: an endangered species, spiritual or endangerment to area and such. So there was 4 criteria that the tribes helped me figure out and the city helped me figure out. So they went on their way. I don't know how they revolved that, but they did come out and talk to me for representatives. And so I'm glad that the tribes have been considered through this and that they'll be part of the acknowledgement on the roundabout. But I do think that the tree needs to be reconsidered perhaps. And again, I'm a little more nervous than I thought I would be, but thank you very much. It's a lot of material to cover. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on now to item 13, and that's I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second. We're adjourned.